Huzur, we've heard and we've read that we have to live in Master's will. And in bigger incidences like death, serious health, we all say it's Master's will and we accept it. But in our day-to-day life, small things don't allow us to accept His will. And there's a lot of confusion regarding that.
Well, first we have to divide it into two portions. One is on the spiritual aspect and the other is on the administrative side. So on the spiritual there should be no question. On the administration, I don't think so anybody creates that kind of a focus where he looks deep into everything. And that is why all of you are there as HODs, as Sevadars, to look into it and give the different perspectives. So definitely somebody could have a better perspective and something could be more in tune to what the Sangat needs. So sometimes in a hurry you overlook so many things. So in day-to-day life, in administrative things, you should use your own discrimination. Give your suggestions, and at the ending of the day, if he takes a decision, you follow that. And that is why we've always out here, right from the beginning I've said, spirituality, there's no question. In administration, you're most free to give your suggestions.
Thank you.
And where the spiritual aspect is concerned, also, you see, learning to stay in His will means understanding His will first. If you don't know what His will is, how will you be able to stay in His will? So it's also reaching that level of consciousness where we understand what His will is. Today everything for us is a perspective. We are searching in the dark as to what we think His will is. So again, only an elevated soul would know what that real will is and be able to stay in that. For mortal people like us, we are all sort of searching in the dark, trying to understand the why and when of this creation, why has this happened to us, why has this happened to somebody else.
How do we try and work at not feeling worried and not feeling, how do we make ourselves better in that sense?
Well, something which should have been a strength for us has become a weakness. What is it that separates us from the lower creatures is the sense of discrimination, vivek. Now that same vivek, which should have helped us to realize the truth, is also making us worry. Because that vivek is making us see the different aspects, the different perspectives. So knowledge, more knowledge doesn't mean better understanding. More knowledge also means more confusion. For somebody who doesn't have choices, it's very easy for him to go forward. But for us, especially those who use the intellect, we have choices. And the choices create that fear factor. What if? You see, so vivek should have been our strength, but we've turned it into a weakness by thinking too much, by questioning, and that is what confuses our thought process and makes us worry.
So we should think less? Not.
No, I think it's natural to think, because if you don't think, how will you sort of understand? How will you see what is right and wrong? That will come from the thinking faculty. But don't cross that limit. Sometimes we think too much. At the ending of the day, it is the action that is going to give you the results, not just your thought process. So up to a certain extent, think about it, then take the action, and the action will help you to decide whether it was right or wrong. It's the practice that helps us to understand. Experience teaches the young to be old and the old to be young.
Huzur, in this situation of COVID-19, how should we brace with life now and in the times to come, and how should we divide our time in terms of how to utilize that time?
Well, whether it is COVID-19 or it is anything else, basically it boils down to having a balance. Unless you have a balance in life, when the balance gets upset, then reactions start taking place. Now all this has been created because of lack of balance from the human beings. If we had kept that balance, we would have never reached this stage. Our immune system has been compromised, our ecological system has been compromised, we've compromised everything. The biggest destroyer of nature is the human being. And because of that compromise, now we are having to step back and think as to what we should be doing. So this is the Lord's way of teaching us that, we need to step back. When was the last time we saw such clear skies? When was the last time we were able to breathe fresh air? Today at night, at least you can see the stars. Otherwise, there was a film of pollution where you didn't even get to see the stars. And if you see, it's basically in India, it is the cities which have more COVID, who have to deal with COVID rather than the rural area. And cities is because of the pollution. Delhi, Bombay, it's the level of pollution. We've destroyed the immune system, and COVID-19 is to do with the respiratory system. And so with all the pollution, the lungs have become weak and you've become prone to infection. So we need to keep that balance in life. We used to have all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. So that's the balance. Child says, I want to play all the time, I don't want to study. As a parent, you would say, well, there's a time to study and there's a time to play. So in essence, you're teaching him to keep a balance. So if we are able to bring about that balance back into our lives, 24 hours in a day, sufficient time to work, to take out time for your family, and to take out time for your spiritual side. So that's the balance we need to pull ourselves back to.
Babaji, moving forward, the kind of social interaction that we would be having, I think everybody will be second guessing how to find the right way. Is it good to keep your distance from people? How will relationships get impacted? How will work happen? What will be the effect on our personal and our professional relationships, and what's the right balance so that you can move forward in a positive manner?
Well, I don't think so. We need COVID-19 to make us think about it. Whether it's the cell phones or the iPads or the computers have already destroyed the social fabric of our society. Where do the children sit and talk? Where do the children sit and play? They are more interested in their games on the iPhone or on the computer and all that. And the art of conversation, the art of letter writing and all that has already started taking a beating. COVID-19 has just brought it to the fore as to what was already taking place. So again, it comes down to the balance that we go to extremes. As human beings, our tendency is to go to extremes. So if somebody wants to socialize, he spends his entire evening in socializing and he doesn't give thought to anything else. On the other side, somebody who says that no, this is not for me, he probably goes to the other extreme. So there's that quote which we use quite often in satsang, na sukh vich grihast de, na sukh shad gaya. Sukh hai vich vichar de, santa sharan pya. Neither by leaving everything, nor by indulging in everything. You have to change your mindset. And if you can change that mindset, create priorities in your life, it's not wrong to go and go to a party or go and socialize, but not every day in the week. If you're going to do it all 365 days of the year, then you've gone to another extreme. So keep that balance where, yes, there are times when you can go and socialize, but there should be times when you spend time with the family, you spend time in reflection, in introspection, and are able to take positive steps rather than just, today we've reduced ourselves to reacting to life. We are not living life. We need to understand how to live life. not just react to circumstances. We are reacting to each other, we are reacting to our needs, to our desires, to each other, and life has become one big reaction. We need to bring back that objectivity, where we understand that this is what I need to do and this is what I'm going to do, rather than just reacting to circumstances.
Babaji, there is such a small difference between your instinct, between your emotional reaction, and between cerebrally how you interpret a situation. How do you find the right, how do you understand which one of those is the right way forward? Is there any way of understanding that?
See, the way we behave or the way we react today is all based on our past experience. Mind is like a computer. The way the computer works is everything is based on the input. So whatever you have fed in into the computer, the output is based on that. So if I have fed in negativity, the output is going to be negative. If I fed in positivity, I'm going to get a positive output. Now sometimes logically you understand that this is the right thing to do. But being creatures of habit, we tend to react in a particular manner. We know it's not right, but we still react in that manner. Because that is the input that has taken place over a period of time. So unless we don't change that, and unless we don't put in positivity into ourselves, and we get into an objective state of mind, we will still react based on the input.
Is there a way of dealing with a situation that you are not comfortable in? How do you deal with it? Because you're surrounded with a feeling of not being where you want to be.
Don't be in a hurry to take a step forward. Just delay taking a decision. Think about it carefully. There's no harm in talking it over with somebody and then seeing what is the right way to go forward. Partly it is, life has become so fast, and when you are going fast, you have to take quick decisions. And that's where the mistakes take place. Whereas if we step back, think about it carefully, sleep over it, we probably would be in a better position to decide what is right and what is wrong.
Babaji, in each of us there is a conscience, which is anything that we want to do, it always tells us, instinctively tells us what is right and wrong. And we can ignore what it tells us is right and do the wrong thing. So is that conscious inside us, is that the voice of God?
No. Voice of God, I think, saints tried to make it easier for us and used these terms. Like when you talk to a child, you use a little story to explain certain things to him. And you generalize. You would tend to take many things for granted. But your inner voice will never tell you anything wrong. And that inner voice means the creative power or the Shabad. That can never tell you wrong. What we are listening to are so-called intuition or whatever we may call it. Now, in the physical, our intuition is born out of our past experiences, as I gave the example of the computer, based on the input which we have put into our mind. So today we are reacting, and the input is the basis of our decision-making process. Whereas through the meditative process, if we are able to rise above the needs of the physical and go into the spiritual, then we would be in a better position to be more objective and listen to that inner voice, or what we call the voice of God, the Shabad.
In addition to that now, so it's not the voice of God, but it's a guiding force telling us what is right and wrong. So let's say there's a person who all his life has done the right thing, what the conscience has told them that this is the right way, and he's followed it all his life. But he's never had the good fortune to come on a spiritual path with a master. He lived a very straight life. Whereas another person who has followed the wrong road, what the conscience was telling him, and did wrong things, even committed heinous crimes, but came on the path. And who's better off in life, ultimately?
everything is based on the law of karma. You see? So, your karmas are going to dictate everything. Karmas form your destiny, your kismat, nothing else. Now, if your karmas have been such, you could be on a spiritual path, you could have, heard satsang every day. But if your karmas are such, those karmas are going to decide your future. So if somebody, whether he's at the feet of a master or not at the feet of the master, it's the karmas that will dictate at the ending of his life what his future is going to be. Nothing else. Coming to the feet of a master means that you are willing to learn. Now, you can get admission into the best school, but if you don't study out there, that's not going to make you pass. Taking initiation means you've enrolled yourself into the best possible school. But now, your input has to be there. You have to study to pass that exam. So if you have taken Naam, you've come into a spiritual realm, but you've not made use of it, you have not put it into practice. I mean, the person who's put it into practice is far better off than somebody who's not put it into practice. Because you have not made use of the environment that you were blessed with.
I don't know, can I ask another question, Hari? In this life, does one start one's spiritual progress from where one left off in the previous life, or it's a restart all over again?
It's a difficult question to answer, but I think for us it is fair to say that we should think that we start afresh. Because your past, whatever you've gone through, plus, minus and all, like I said, it's your karmas that dictate your future. So whatever is the sum total of your karmas, that has created your destiny. Destiny puts you into a certain situation, and that situation will give you negative as well as positive, and then it's all about making the right choice.
As we believe that everything is destined for us, so we do constantly have to make choices. Does our destiny sort of push towards those things where we make those choices according to our destiny, or we have a part of discrimination, as you say?
See, as I was explaining earlier, that our memory or the mind is like the memory of a computer. It is very impressionable. It has sort of picked up impressions throughout our life, positive, negative, good, bad. Your destiny will put you into a situation. How you react to that situation now is dependent upon the choices you make. Ever since we've come into this creation, we've exercised our right to choose. We made wrong choices, that's why we are stuck in Karam Kand. If we have made the right choices, we won't be here.
But a lot of times, Babaji, we believe that our destiny drove us to make a certain choice.
No,
it's not like that.
No, I don't think so. We should justify that.
Ji.
It's like playing cards.
Ji.
When you play cards, you can't choose the cards.
Ji.
The hand is dealt out to you.
Ji.
Now, you could have a wonderful hand, make the wrong choices and lose the game.
Ji.
And you could have a terrible hand, make the right choices and win the game. So no matter what your destiny is, now it depends upon the choices you make. You make the right choices, you can turn it around and benefit. But you could have a wonderful hand, make wrong choices in life and lose that.
Thank you.
Today, don't we think that we are making the choices? I mean, there is a level of consciousness where he will sort of do everything for us, but today we are making the choices. We haven't reached that level of consciousness or gone above the physical where we actually believe that he's making. When he makes the choices, he will take the responsibility. That is why part of the spiritual aspect is to teach us how to stay in his will. Tera pana meetha lage. But how many of us are willing to accept that? Today we are not able to accept. For us, we make choices that this is good for me, this is bad for me. But if we were able to accept his will, there is no question of good or bad. We would accept everything. We won't say it's hot outside or we won't say it's cold outside. That's part of nature, we would accept it. ठीक है. That's what the Lord wants. But today we make choices. The moment you start putting everything into this thing, this is good, this is bad, I like this, I don't like this, that is the choice.
Babaji, wouldn't you say that the only one who can be really objective is the master?
Aren't we all prospective masters? Aren't we all trying to work towards that level of consciousness?
Yeah, but we're a million miles away from it.
No, I don't think so. It depends upon how you look at it. I mean, your journey of 1,000 miles starts from the first step. So if I'm going to see the top of the mountain, and I'll never be able to reach it. But if I am able, take a guide and he breaks it out into 3-4 different stages, something I say, well, that is possible. And then I go to the next stage, that is possible.
So the thing about thinking and thinking too much, I mean, you very often say, don't think so much. You very often say it in your teachings. Is it because the thinking is colored by emotions? So it gets, there's an I, there's an ego in it, so it
Well,
gets
the thinking is colored today by the materialistic nature of our thought. You know, that calculation. Our calculative nature brings everything into what is good for me, what is bad for me, whether I gain something or I lose something. So we are not thinking from a totality point of view, we are thinking from an individual point of view.
Because we don't have the totality vision.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because we have never gone beyond the tip of our nose.
yeah.
Our tendency is just to look at, you know, I mean, if you look at it a few generations back, there were larger families, there was a lot of sharing and caring, but now we've reduced ourselves to what about what I want? To the individual, not even to your immediate family. It's boiling down to what
Me.
I want, what about me? So if the narrower you make this circle, you have to take the burden then. If the circle is wide, then there's everybody to share in the burden. So we are narrowing our confines. Technology should have helped us to have more time for ourselves. However, we become slaves to technology, and that little time we had, we are losing that also.
But it seems that there's a contradiction between, like for instance, in the case of a mother who is tied to the child, the offspring, in terms of responsibility for as long as they live, by virtue of being the mother.
Should we be tied to the child as long as we live? That's the question. Now you've brought a soul in. You know, it's like a teacher and a student. Should the teacher be tied to the student?
No, but the responsibility is there, isn't it?
His responsibility is to guide the child to stand on his own feet,
Yeah.
not to do everything for the child, not to try and guide the child at every step. Then he is not doing his job as a teacher. Again, that balance, you know, we are not able to cut the umbilical cord.
But
There is a time when the umbilical cord should be cut. You have to guide the child to be able to take decisions for himself. But we want to take those decisions throughout our life.
No, but Babaji, in some ways, it seems a very fine line between a sense of like, I mean, Maharaji would say, you know, you have to take care of your fellow human beings, and probably who else will take care of them? And the family seems to be the unit where that starts from.
Taking care doesn't mean that you impose your thought on them also. Na?
Yeah.
Everybody, and now we are all sitting out here, everybody's perspective of taking care would be different. One person's taking care means that, okay, you keep the house clean. The other person's taking care might be more. Third one's might be less.
So it's where you draw the line.
Yeah, so you know, most of the time we go by what we think is the right thing rather than thinking about everybody. What is the other person's perspective? So we want to interact with our children, we want to do everything for the children, sometimes not realizing that they may want to do it themselves. They may not want you to sort of interact or interfere in their life to that extent. So that balance needs to be brought about, where you are there for them, but you are not imposing your will on them.
In marriage, it's a very difficult situation because you've always said that marriage should be a 50-50 relationship. But then if one side feels 50% one way and another side feels 50% the other way, how do you ever take a decision and move forward? How do you
50-50 50-50 means it should not be the man's way or the woman's way. There are times when the man will have to give in and there are times when the woman has to give in.
How do you decide that, Babaji?
No, but that's what a relationship is all about, na? That marriage means that there are two people who've gotten together to complement each other. You bring your strengths, your wife brings her strengths, and the idea is to complement each other and become good friends and see life in that friendship.
Sorry, Arjun, does it not mean that 50% wife is right and 50% husband is wrong?
Well, you see, nobody is right and nobody is wrong. It's a way of looking at things. Everything is right and everything is wrong. One man's food can be another man's poison. So I don't think so in relationships that's a question of right and wrong. There are times when you might be wrong and wife might be, you might be right and she might be wrong, but you give in for the sake of harmony in the house. So rather than creating situations where we sort of, that harmony is disturbed and most of the issues are very minor here. They're no big deals. So if it's not a big deal and it's not life affecting or something, back off. Huh? Well, first yes, but not now. Now I think the women are, now I'm having questions and answers, I am seeing that the women are more assertive today than the men are. Maybe in your generation it was different, but now women have started asserting themselves. Yeah. But again, then now we are going from, one extreme, we are going to the other extreme. Just because the woman was subdued for so long doesn't mean that now for so many years the man should be subdued. Both should learn to bring about a certain balance. That balance is productive, that balance makes life positive.
Babaji, how do we learn to accept the Master's will? Because there are times when it's easy and then there are times where it's very tough.
But first we have to understand the Master's will. No? Sometimes, I won't say sometimes, mostly he would give us suggestions about our day-to-day life, about how to deal with situations and all. Whereas his actual suggestion would be on the spiritual plane only. So in the spiritual plane, like I said, there are very little do's and don'ts we should follow. But where our daily life is concerned, he's giving you suggestions. Now you can accept those suggestions, you may not accept those suggestions. You have to see what suits you. Most of us also, we don't understand what is said in jest and what is said seriously. Sometimes what he says in jest we take seriously, and what he says seriously we take as a joke. So first you have to reach that level to actually make out what he is telling you. You can only follow what you understand. Most of the time we don't understand.
Babaji, my question is, on one hand we say, Torkaram hoye te Satgur milai. It is the Guru who will find you. You are nobody to find the Guru.
Yeah.
Thereafter, where you are born, which family you are born, which schools you study, which is your childhood, and all that is destined. Because you have no choice at that time.
No, but that is part of that destiny, that is created. If your earlier lives, there has been some association with spirituality and you've led a good life, your destiny will be created in that manner where it makes it easier for you to find a guru. And if your life has been very wayward and all that, then your destiny will be created in a manner that it makes it very difficult for you.
Hazur, the question is that, let us say that you said if your past life was okay, you had some spiritual backing or whatever it is, association with somebody. But at the same time, we give example in satsang, ke Sadhna was a Kasai, so and so was Vaishya, so and so, so and so. Now, possibly they couldn't have done very good karmas in their last life to be put in touch with a guru, thereafter they attain moksha.
These are examples given to us, like we say, exceptions prove the rule. Okay, now how many Kasais would be there? How many sadhanas would be there? So it is to give us that confidence that everything is possible. That if a Kasai could be blessed and brought to the spiritual path, why not us? So sometimes these examples are brought forward through the lives of the mystics, through the stories we talk about them. We hear about Bulle Shah, who was a good soul, an evolved soul, but he is shown as having certain doubts. Now, if that had not played about, how would we get that example? So these examples are to give us the confidence and to help us understand that it is possible for all of us.
So the last question is, we say that the Namdan day is destined. If the Namdan day is destined and my death is destined, how is it that going
Who
to...
said Namdan day is destined?
So it is in the books?
Which book? I don't know. Coming and going is destined. I don't think so. The Namdan day I've read anywhere.
I will bring that.
The day you take birth and the day you leave is destined. That much, yes. Sab kuch hukmi amda, sab kuch hukmi jaye, jeko मूर्ख आपे जाने अंध कमाए.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
If you're not born in a satsangi family, then whenever you are supposed to meet the master is also destined in your
See, beta, like I said, destiny puts you into a situation. Then it's the choices you make. I mean, Bade Maharaji, he travelled so widely, Sardar Bahadur, Hazur, they all travelled very widely. But everybody who came into contact with them never sort of took them on as the master. So it depends upon your receptivity. Okay? Some of us are receptive to that. Some of us become receptive later on. We could have interacted with the master for years, not be receptive, and then suddenly one day you feel that I have been missing something all my life. So it depends upon the receptivity of that person. So the type of life we are leading, destiny has put us into a situation, we've created a certain environment which may not be conducive for that receptivity. So we don't even think about it. And sometimes just in a day, a satsang, a word, everything changes.
But is that your destiny? I mean, is it a destiny of the soul that it changes like that on a given day? Or?
Destiny will put you into the situation, then you have to make the choice. Okay. Then it depends upon the choices you make. We have to work towards where we try not to make choices but stay in His will. But today all of us are making choices. That situation where we will stop making choices is when we go beyond the physical realm into the spiritual, where the soul accepts everything as His will. Good, bad, there's nothing. Je raj karaye ta teri upama, je peek mangaye ta kya kat jaye. You know? Dukh, sukh, dono samakar jaan aur maan apamana. Happiness or sorrow, somebody is praising you, somebody is criticizing you, it doesn't make a difference. Then you have gone beyond the choice making, then it's his responsibility. But today it is affecting us. Everything that happens in his life, and we think that we are choosing, that's why we exercise that right to choose. And as long as you are exercising the right to choose, then you are bound by the consequences of that.
How can we learn not to want to choose? I mean, how?
Go beyond the physical, enter the spiritual realm, where everything is acceptable. A happy husband and an angry husband is acceptable.
That anyway, Babaji, as long as you say it's acceptable, it's acceptable.
No, it's not a question of what I say, it's a question of what you feel. Then you will accept it in the same manner. You see, not just the dictates of the master. He's not at every step going to tell us, accept this, or this is good for you, or this is not good for you. We have to reach that level of maturity where we understand that no, whatever happens is good for me.
That's only through Bhajan Simran, Babaji. That's only through Bhajan Simran.
Well, that's what our experience is. If you think there's something better other way, you tell us. Chalo,
Sorry.
okay.
Babaji, is it just as how through meditation they say that you can achieve the Lord, does submission also fall in the same category?
Bade Maharaj used to say there are two ways. He used to say one is through absolute submission and the other is through meditation. He used to say, rest assured that meditation is the easy way out. Submission means he takes you out, points to the sun and says, what a beautiful moon. And without a single thought, you say, what a beautiful moon. We'll think that he's gone crazy. Is he mad? You see? So, meditation is the path leading to submission. For us, we are using our intellect too much, and that's why we need to bring that mind into submission, and that's why we need that support of that meditation.
Babaji, as you said, the receptivity of a person is different. Different people are not as receptive. Is that the relationship where the more you learn to receive, the more you learn to submit? Is it a to and fro relationship?
It's again a spiritual maturity that takes place. You know, like we say, as the child experiences life, that helps him to discern, that helps him towards maturity. And for us, we are talking about spiritual maturity. So our day-to-day experience will help us to learn as to what is the right thing. What has life taught us? Has life taught you that your decision-making process has always been right? So as we learn that, okay, our sort of thinking is very limited. What we know, what we see, what we understand is very limited. What he knows and sees is beyond what we know. But even to accept that needs strength and confidence. When you tell a child, you put him on the table and say, jump. Child jumps. You tell an older boy to do that, he'll say, will you catch me? Now the little child is not using his intellect that time. Father has said jump, he jumps. But as you become older, we lose that innocence of ours. We start using the mind, the intellect, we start thinking. And in that thought process, we start seeing good, bad. Will he be able to catch me? What if I fall down? The little child doesn't. He's too innocent for that. That's why Bible says, be ye innocent as a child to enter into the gates of heaven.